afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hospitality Titans live event sponsored by CDG Leisure. My name is Liam Norval and I am CEO of Posh Cockney and I'm co-founder of the Hospitality Titans. And I'm joined here by my fellow co-founder, Pete Warden. Pete, how are you?
I'm excellent, thank you, Liam.
We've got an incredible panel here today. Pete, why don't you tell us who they are?
So we have Morris from CDG Leisure, who's our sponsor of the event today. We have Freddie from the Embargo app. We have Jen from Get Ahead. And we have Michelle from QAB Hospitality.
Guys, thank you so much for coming today. I know we was meant to do a networking event tonight, but with the restrictions in place, we're here now in the studio in Watford. How is everybody?
Very good.
Good to hear. So there are some big hot topics, Pete, aren't there, that we want to discuss?
There are, Liam, absolutely, guys. And girls, excuse me. There's a few things we want to talk about this evening. Let's start with something that I feel, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me, has been a great success in these difficult times, which has been the pedestrianisation of certain parts of central London. Some streets post 5 p.m. or all day on the weekends have been turned into an alfresco extravaganza. I think it's been a great success. Freddie, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we all agree that this should have been introduced years ago. We're still one of the few capitals, in Europe that we're actually, working almost without outside space. And I think having this, especially now over summer, especially now post-lockdown, has, helped us to recover as an industry. And hopefully this will be something that we can treasure every summer, and it will just, bring that positive change and show that sometimes a crisis like this will, make us all stronger, make us improve. So, obviously there's still so much to deal with, so much to face, but this is definitely something we should be proud of as an industry. Well done also to the Hospitality Union that has really pushed for it. Hopefully this stays with us.
Great, thank you, Freddie. Michelle, I know you and I were talking about this earlier, so what are your thoughts, please?
I think the key part of it was when you saw our streets empty, at the end of March, your heart broke for this city. And then when you went back and saw the streets filled with the restaurants, with the industry that we love, we work in it, we live it, it's everything that we dream about. So to see like Old Compton Street, walking down there full of people and then up past Cuvadas, and people having a glass of champagne, I just think it brought joy. And in this moment where people are, fearful, you just think, this industry more than ever is going to bring people happiness, and it did.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. Morris, what are your thoughts?
I completely agree with Michelle. I mean, my office is based in Soho, and we went through a time where it was absolutely heartbreaking seeing everything so empty, and it's been a godsend to a lot of operators. It really has been, and I talked to many operators, as you can imagine, but it really has helped in a big way. Long may the weather continue. But
absolutely, absolutely. Jen, anything to add?
It's been lovely to see that kind of community spirit back again in London again. I don't work in the centre myself, but having been in the city centre at the beginning of lockdown and seeing the streets bare with nobody there and no trade happening, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And having been back again recently and seeing people in the streets, smile on their faces, it's brought back that real sort of cultural feel, that real community spirit, which is what London's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, John James at Soho Estates with the Soho Festival, it's been a great success, hasn't it?
Absolutely stunning.
Pete, you and I work on a number of projects and, having that ability to serve customers outside and bring the trust factor back for customers. I mean, Freddie, when the coffee shops that you guys have now, Gentleman Barista as well, outside there are now in Covent Garden. I mean, they're seeing great success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, this has been needed. I mean, at the moment, hospitality needs every little support. And one thing that I think every operator will agree with us here is that people were just, happy to be back, feeling that sort of routine. And let's face it, it's not just your morning coffee when you go to work, but your weekends, catch up with your friends. We're all missing this. And I think it's so important that going forward, we set strategies and we set plans that, that help us get out of this crisis, but without, taking that joy away and that spirit away, because at the end of the day, this is a disease, and you can only fight it if we have faith that you can get over it. So, Gentleman Barista is one of those, definitely great examples where they have shown that spirit. You walk in, you have the team absolutely excited to see you, and that time, those few months where the operators couldn't see their customers, but we, as customers as well, couldn't see our favorite venues. I think we understood that we might have taken it for granted before, and
Yeah.
it definitely has brought even more excitement every time we step into our favorite bar or coffee shop. So, yeah, again, one of those things that hopefully stay.
Maurice, I'm really keen to know, you're the property expert in the room. When people are coming to you for advice, are they looking for outdoor space right now?
Many people are, yeah. They all want to take advantage of the outdoor space. It's a big thing at the moment, and also it really it helps people to come into the restaurant as well. Because if you're seeing a restaurant where they've got a lot of people sitting, or not a lot of people, but people outside and eating and socialising outside, it's a welcoming feel to people as well that makes people want to go back into restaurants, because that's what a lot of people have lost in this as well, is confidence to go into a restaurant. So we need to try and build confidence again, and I think the outside seating is really a big confidence builder to many operators.
And you ladies both live in South London.
We do.
And there are some fantastic outdoor areas where people can wine and dine. What's your favourites?
I think in Herne Hill, I live near Herne Hill, and Llewellyn's, they've built a terrace. Well, the terrace was already there in front of the train station, but that's extended out. And that little village area, when you walk through, you know, you just want to sit down and have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
You know, it's just lovely. And so you're just proud for them that they've got the opportunity to do it.
Yep.
And I think for me, I live in Sydenham, and I think we're very blessed in a sense that most of the kind of pubs have already really nice outdoor beer gardens, and I think they've really made the most of that during lockdown, where, as you say, people have been scared to go inside, they don't want to be too close to people, but it's been lovely seeing, you know, kind of packed outdoor areas of people having a lovely time, and you know, we've certainly made the most of it while the sunshine's been out, and you know, I hope people continue to do so when the weather gets a bit cooler.
I don't know about all of you, but I feel that sometimes when you go outside and when the weather's been nice and there's all these people outside, it really is a bit of an escapism that, you know,
Yeah.
oh, hello, maybe I did go on holiday this year.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally,
That
yeah.
helps.
So that's a big positive, and Hospitality Titans is all about positive energy and spreading that positive message. But let's talk about something that's really hit us hard over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, as you said, the things that have gone very well are flip side to the things that are really challenging right now. And certainly, I think the key one to discuss is this 10 p.m. curfew that's recently come in. Obviously, the entire industry, and rightly so, is up in arms about it. We don't feel it's been very well thought out, and we think the consequences of that are obviously going to play out every weekend. We saw last weekend a lot of issues with it, and I think they're going to happen again this weekend, and we're hoping there will be some review of that. But again, let's start with Freddie for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I wanted just to start that obviously none of us would like to be now, you know, in charge and probably, you know, make those really difficult decisions. And it never will be easy. However, I think what we all need as citizens, as hospitality, as an industry, we just need to see that whatever restrictions are put are actually leading to a greater goal. You know, whilst talking to many operators that we work with, I think they all have the same view. If we have to shut it at 10 p.m., and knowing that this will really help and solve the issue, we will all do this. At the end of the day, we want all to be, you know, have this challenge behind us. But the problem that, you know, everyone has is understanding the logic behind it, you know. Kurt Desar, the founder of Chotomate, posted, I think 2 days ago, an interesting stat, which he sort of reposted from Hospitality Union, about the fact that in week 39, only 3% of the cases came from actually hospitality or food outlets, you know, compared to 44% that came from universities and school, 25% that came from care homes. And obviously, I mean, it's hard not to feel that it is a bit unfair that most of the restrictions are targeted hospitality. The 10 p.m. curfew, you know, feels like not a really well thought restrictions. And yeah, it's really hard to deal with it. If you're a pub, if you're a restaurant, if you're a bar, even if you do have most of your trade post-work, you got to remember 10 p.m. means 10 p.m. you have to be shut, which means last order will probably be 9, 9:15, 9:30 if you really push it. So this really cuts the hours that, you know, are already limited when you make money. And yeah, all we can do is, you know, push for a change and hope some of these restrictions will be, you know, revoked and thought through again.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Jenny, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's putting extra pressure on the emergency services and the police as well. I mean, having the entire of a city pouring out onto the streets at one time is absolutely insane. It's dangerous. I mean, we're trying to keep people apart at the moment, not having them packed in like sardines. I'm sure we've all seen scenes from last weekend of the parties in the street, in central London, Liverpool, Manchester, Glasgow. Certainly the outrage we're having across universities at the moment, you know, where they're feeling like caged animals, so they're going out and they're rebelling. And I think obviously one of the biggest problems that, you know, licensed venues are having to close down at a certain time. But then the supermarket or the corner shop are just selling people cheap alcohol, which they're then going home in their droves to drink. So it's dangerous as well as the impact it's having financially on you know, in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Michelle, would you like to jump in there as well?
Yeah, I think the difficulty also is, I agree with you, like the reasoning people need to understand. And we've been reasonable throughout this time. And I think that's the hard part, first of all. We don't get the understanding of it. I think the frustration isn't just for us as the industry as well. I think the frustration's coming from our guests. They want to be back out. And so now, quickly, restaurants and bars are having to come up with new rules that meet their business, because one restaurant to one bar, they're all different. So how are you doing your bookings? So the turnaround and the fear, I think, that this isn't going to continue and there will be another change, and the effort that's put in, it causes frustration and confusion. And that's where I think the resistance is coming from, to just be, let's do this because we know this is going to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was saying, on one hand, it's, you know, they're encouraging people for the Eat Out to Dine Out in August, encouraging people to go back into restaurants, go back into bars, use all these, you know, subsidised offerings, and then suddenly it's taken away from them. So, you know, people are confused. They don't know what they are not supposed to do, and then they get upset when people aren't following the rules.
And
Though I do think, I know people have said that, and it's I agree to an extent. I also think that was revenue people needed.
Yeah. Oh.
And if we hadn't have done that, and we hadn't have gone back out then when the weather was good and we were all outside, there might be businesses who couldn't be having a difficult conversation about 10 p.m. because they wouldn't have been there. So it did give us the revenue we needed at that time.
Do you think they knew that they were going to put these restrictions in some way around October?
I hope they were that clever to think so.
I think so.
You know?
In my mind, I think that could be the case.
It is interesting now. I mean, I spoke to other countries and operators in other countries, like such as Holland. They've put the same restriction in place. 10 p.m. Spain have put the restriction in place. France have put the restriction in place. They've all followed suit. Whilst we put it into place last week, other countries are following suit as well. So I don't know what the science is, and I wish someone would explain it, because it maybe make it easier. But they are doing it in other countries as well.
I believe it started in Belgium.
Oh, did it start in Belgium?
It was the
Right.
Belgian model, and seems to have worked. The R rate came down, and that's what they're giving it a go. But they also make good beer as well, the Belgians.
Yeah, but I think again it's about putting a bit of, you know, effort to explain it to people. I think it's also taking into account how much operational work goes into actually adapting to all these changes, and, you know, announcing something you know, on one day and then sort of expecting venues to adapt within 48 hours. I mean, that's just, you know, then you just feel as an operator like these people don't really think, they don't, like I think, they don't really put themselves into my shoes. And I think this is just the hardest thing to sort of swallow, right? Is that lack of, you know, sympathy or understanding. At the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. And we would love to see that if our industry contributes to 3% and gets all these restrictions, and then there are other, you know, industries that don't get that many, or there haven't been many changes made, then you cannot expect people to just sit there and accept it. And I think we all should be working together. It's not about obviously now, you know, creating riots or anything like this, because that won't lead to anything. But I do think we need a better communication strategy and understanding where is it that we're actually heading, where is it that we're going with this. And well, I'm still being, you know, optimistic and hoping that next few days, you know, our government will find a way to sort of, you know, somehow deal with this, and hopefully we'll be in a better sort of position in a few days to discuss this with more optimistic news. So
Fantastic. So I touched on it earlier, Maurice. You are the property expert in the room. Why don't you give us a little property rundown on what's happening in London right now?
Sure. Liam, to fully understand what's been going on in the how COVID has affected the property market, you know, I'll take you back to January 2020, which is now 9 months ago. January 2020, you know, we came in, leisure market was strong, multiples were expanding, premiums were very high. Premiums are the key money to buy the leases of these premises. Key money was high, rents were going up, which not everyone wants to hear, but the fact that rents were going up and the key money, it was showing how buoyant the industry was, and it really was. January 2020, we came in with a really buoyant market. March came, COVID came, like a tsunami. I mean, it absolutely wiped people out. I would say that the effect was within 2 weeks of lockdown, well, immediately of lockdown being mentioned, then the effects were devastating. What it's really done to the property market immediately was that the premium market, being the key money, which was always a very big factor in purchasing these kind of leases, had been completely wiped out. So to give you an example, you know, a Mayfair restaurant or a central London restaurant fully fitted would be attracting a premium in the region of anything from 500 to £1 million, just to be able to buy the benefit of having that lease in that location with that fit out. That same premises at the moment would now be on a reverse premium, meaning that the tenant, to get out of the liability, would actually pay someone a bit of rent for it, pay someone to take their lease, to take away their liability. Some may ask, what's the purpose of that? The purpose of that is maybe that these tenants have got a large rent deposit that they want returning, whereas if they go into liquidation and they hand the keys back to the landlord, they will lose this large rent deposit. So this is a way of saving their rent deposit. So that's the immediate effect. People are asking me, a lot of people ask me, are rents going to come down because of it as well, because of what's happened with the premium factor? I think that the government have, in a way, have done a very good job with enforcing lease moratoriums, debt enforcement moratoriums, meaning that a landlord can't take possession of any premises, any hospitality premises at the moment for non-payment of rent. So a tenant could carry on trade. Yes, we've spoken about the restrictions that are in place. So don't think that all of a sudden it's so easy for a tenant because they're not paying rent. Yeah, a lot of landlords are putting them on holiday periods at the moment. They're deferring the payments so that when the moratoriums are lifted by the government, which at the moment is scheduled to be from January, they've just recently extended it. It was going to be from now, from today's date, and they've just recently extended it to January. So when the moratoriums are lifted, that means that these, at that point, maybe we will see, come January, February, March, we will see a lot of these premises going back to landlords, which means in turn rents will come down to reflect premiums as well. Look, with every action, there's a consequence, yeah? And the flip side of this is that never, ever has there been such a good time for independents, entrepreneurs that wanted to start their first hospitality, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a bar, whether it be a nightclub. Never, ever has it been the most perfect time. Why do I say that? A, because of what I went through with the premium value being knocked out now. So there is no key money anymore. So anyone that was looking pre-COVID was expecting to pay a very big key money value. Now no longer. Also, many of the chains, as we've seen, have had to do CVAs. They've had to go into liquidation. So the big chains are not expanding. If anything, they're lowering their profile in the market. So that means that because of their lack of expansion, a lot of the time previous to COVID, entrepreneurs and independents never had a face in to get any of these prime sites, whether it be central London, whether it be prime in neighbourhood locations. They never had a look in. Now they will get a look in. Now they hold the cards because they have now got investment, whether it be private investment or whether it be bank investment or whether it be their own way funding that they've got. They now hold the cards with landlords because they're now able. Landlords now do not want empty premises, so they are now the ones that are in control here, which is for the first time ever. I've been in the market 20 years. I know I don't look it, but 20 years, and it's never been such a great market for the independents. So that's who we're talking to. We're also talking to a lot of internationals at the moment, using the opportunity. I think the international mentality is London is always such a prime spot for hospitality, and now the internationals are realizing that now's the best time to come and expand in this market or expand territory into the market because of the lack of premium, because of the rents that are coming down, because of the opportunity that there is an influx of property on the market. You've got all the Pizza Expresses, the Asks, the Pretzos, the GBKs that are all fully fitted sites, yeah, that have gone back to landlords in a lot of cases, and now they're being put back on the market. Yes, at the moment with a bit of a lower rent, but the rent's not reflecting how much yet because of the fact that the premium value is zero. And it will get stronger and stronger for that type of person. So that is what we're seeing at the moment.
There's going to be people watching this live right now, and they're going to be screaming, wanting advice. Are you giving out free advice at the moment to people in the industry?
Absolutely, absolutely. At the moment, we are very much an operator-led agency. Yeah, so we are very much in touch with the operator market. So you've got two types of operators at the moment. You've got one operator that have got an existing premises and they want advice of how to limit their liability, because at the end of the day, lease on any premises, whether it be hospitality, office, retail, whatever you've got, it's a liability. It's a rent that you've got to keep paying. Yeah. So we're giving advice to people to limit their liability, whether that be to maybe either go through a CVA if they're a chain, either go through a liquidation, or alternatively negotiate with the landlord, and we will help negotiate with their landlord as well in order to limit their liability as much as possible. That's one type. Then you've got the other type of operator that wants to take advantage of this market, that wants to take premises, and we're giving advice on that, on the best way possible that they can come into the London market in doing so, because many of them, being independents and entrepreneurs, they need a bit more holding hand and a bit more understanding of how to cope. As long as they factor in that for the next 6 to 9 months, which is what we're foreseeing, that the trade is going to be very erratic, yeah, and at least for 6 to 9 months. As long as they can factor that in, then it's a good time to come into the market.
There's certainly a good time to come into the market, and the investment opportunities are amazing right now, as you've touched on. And I love the fact that you mentioned about international coming here to make their flagship. We've seen that a lot, haven't we, in the last 12 months? Big brands coming over here.
I will tell you something, Liam, that I strongly believe that within the next in 2 years' time, please God, when COVID becomes just a history lesson in schools, is you're going to see a market, that is going to be full of independence. It's going to have some really exciting new concepts in London. Some of these prime sites that you're so used to seeing the usual operators in there, it's going to be no more. You're going to see new, exciting operators. And as you know, you yourself through the titles, you're speaking to so many new individuals. Some people have got some fantastic ideas, and they really have. And now is the time to get. And we're really helping nurture that type of operator at the moment.
It's good you mentioned nurture, because that's one of the main things the Hospitality Titans do. We're all about creating new concepts and looking after the new talent in the industry. So if you have got a concept and you've seen a site, but you might not have the expertise, come and speak to the panel today and the rest of the board, which we'll share later. Thanks very much, Maurice. That was amazing. Thank you.
No problem.
Jennifer.
Hi.
We speak to each other quite a lot, and business seems to be going quite well for you at the moment.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, obviously, starting up a new business not long before COVID was interesting, but things are looking really, really bright and really positive. I'm not an operator myself, but I am a business owner, so I've obviously felt the impact as we all have. But I work in mental health, and what's lovely is that at the moment we can provide people with very much needed resources and content and help them on this journey. Everyone's health and well-being has taken an absolute battering. The statistics are absolutely staggering since lockdown. So it feels good. It feels good to have a purpose and be able to help people at this time.
Well, I can't wait to see what you're going to show for us today and the viewers at home. So over to you.
Thank you. Hi, it's so nice to be here today. Thanks to Liam and Pete for inviting me to talk and tell you all about me and what I do. My name's Jennifer, as I alluded to earlier in conversation. I run a mental health and wellbeing initiative, but I haven't always done that. So I'd like to give you a little bit of a background about me and how I came to do what I do today. So I grew up in a small village in Glasgow. Aspirations were to be Vivienne Westwood or a famous dancer. So I went to university and studied fashion design for 5 years. initially thinking again I was going to be some kind of crazy fashion designer taking on London, Paris Fashion Week. And then I went to Ibiza on holiday with my friends. And that's when it all changed for me. I stayed and worked the season and discovered a love for the music business, something that I'd never ever sort of felt myself in, drawn to before. I worked all summer and I came home and I went back to university, and this happened every single summer. So my priorities in fashion and university went like that every single year, and music went up. So I was very, very lucky, as I say, to have spent summers in the island from 1996 through to 2003, which we would now call, I think, the Wonder Years, for those who enjoyed the island. And through those years, I was lucky enough to work with some of the biggest club brands that there are today. My years in Ibiza had me working with a great club brand called Renaissance, travelling the world, learning the trade, and really sort of climbing the ladder until I moved to London when I was in my early 20s and got a job at Ministry of Sound, which was a dream country for me. And I ended up working there for 7 or 8 years, initially going in to help with the touring and events business, and then taking it over and eventually running a sort of 2,000 a year global events business with a massive team running events with Ministry of Sound and Head Candy and lots of other brands. And it was the time of my life. I had the opportunity to travel, meet great people, and just, experience things that every young person should. This is what my passport looked like from day to day. Every single weekend I was in a plane. I was traveling somewhere, I was going somewhere, I was having sleepless nights, I was getting on planes, spending time in hotels, a lot of it on my own, realising the isolation and the loneliness that comes with it, as well as the fun when you have that. Really, I was burning the candle at both ends. I was traveling, I was working, I was partying all night, I was having the time of my life, but actually I was probably fast approaching a major burnout at a young age. But back then, the term burnout didn't really exist. It only became a proper medical term about 18 years ago. So back then it was acceptable to go out and party and rage and, have the time of your life, but not look after yourself. But then in 2016, only a few years ago, that's when things really, really changed for me. I was still working in events, traveling the world, organising festivals, not really thinking long term about what it is I wanted. And then this little monkey came into my life, flipped everything upside down and changed my perspective. And actually, it was the kick up the backside that I needed to really, really pull back and really take stock of what I wanted for my future. I guess it made me realise that I didn't want to travel anymore. I didn't want to have this crazy disco party lifestyle. So I hung up my disco pants and found my purpose. At the time, I was working for a brilliant independent music company called AEI Group, initially running their events business, then going on to working more of a kind of people and culture role within the company, which looked like overseeing the team, dealing with partnerships, I guess kind of wearing a bit of an HR hat, unofficially. And I realised I actually really loved it. I loved helping people. I loved helping people with their problems, their issues, their day-to-day, helping them find solutions for things, which is something which I hadn't really done previously in my work. Now looking forward into why I do what I do, approximately 1 in 4 people in the UK will experience a mental health problem each year. That is prior to the pandemic. 1/6 of workers were experiencing a mental health problem at any given time. Stress, anxiety and depression are thought to be responsible for almost half of working days lost in Britain. These figures have absolutely soared now in recent months, so people need help more now than ever. Deloitte reports in the past 2 years, and we're talking pre-COVID, the cost of poor mental health to UK employers increased by a staggering 16%, costing the UK economy £45 billion. However, a recent study found that 41% of the UK's population's mental health is now at risk because of the COVID-19 crisis. It is more important now than ever that employers take the mental health and well-being of their people seriously and maintain a positive culture where people are able and free to talk about their mental health. So how can we help? Get ahead. In 2018, we launched a not-for-profit movement which aimed to positively impact 1 billion people in the next 25 years. 1 billion people, yes. Get Ahead has 3 pillars: health, development, and fun. With Get Ahead, we tackle people's mental and physical health. We tackle their personal and professional development. And then we have the fun element, which is absolutely crucial. Comedy, spoken word, music, dancing, multisensory experience. We're so lucky we work in partnerships with some absolutely incredible organisations. Other charities. We're an organisation based on collaboration and partnership. So for us, it's key that we work with other charities and non-profits out there in the mental health and wellbeing space. Help Musicians, Nightline Association, Mind, the list goes on. Fabulous organisations out there doing great work. Get Ahead aims to change the narrative around mental health, normalise the stigma surrounding it, and open up the conversation. I mean, I really think the best way to kind of summarise what Get Ahead is to show you a little video from our 2018 festival, which was our first Get Ahead festival, which we launched in London, which was tagged as the first 24-hour festival of the head.
What this festival does is opens a whole new world where people can connect with each other.
Off the handle.
What Get Ahead is trying to achieve is to raise the profile of mental health, normalising it. Yeah, the sooner we start talking about it, the better it is going to be for everybody.
Talking about mental health and wellness, but wrapping it in a festival setting, I thought was genius.
Everyone was just going for it, and that's what it was all about.
I'll be holding you.
Their energy was amazing.
I'll be holding you. I'll be holding you.
Help Musicians UK is really proud to be working with Get Ahead.
I'll be holding you. I'll be holding you.
Fitness infused with music, infused with happiness. To me, it's the most important.
To do an event with colour and creativity and music and partying until 6 a.m, I think is fantastic.
Off the back of the first festival in 2018, we created this kind of lightning rod moment where people came together, created a new inclusive community where people weren't scared to talk and share and open up and you know, be themselves. That festival then led on to becoming more of a movement. And now we have meetups, blogs, ebooks, an online community. We have a record label and a podcast. So what started as a kind of crazy seed of an idea with a big 25-year ambition has actually led on to being the most incredible community of people. Get Ahead Records. 2018, alongside the first festival, we launched a record label for our sins and decided to put together an album for charity, with charity. A good friend of ours who was in the band Pendulum came together and got tracks from The Prodigy and Chasing Status and all the biggest tracks in drum and bass. And we released an album the week before the first festival in partnership with Help Musicians, and it went straight to #1. So there was a real sort of lovely celebratory moment. You know, we had the festival, we had the album, and then we launched a podcast series. So it's called Behind the Curtain. What we want to do is we want to take a kind of peek behind the curtain of real people's lives and ask them the all-telling questions that they don't want to be asked. We do this online, and we also film them live as well. The interesting thing now is, over the last few years, we started working more with our partners on what their kind of corporate wellness and their day-to-day requirements were for their people, and very, very quickly started helping companies and organizations with their well-being strategies for their teams. So when lockdown happened this year, we had been planning to set up Get Ahead as a corporate entity, start taking it into the workplace. But then we made the decision that we were going to apply for charitable status for Get Ahead, which is what we're doing now. So Get Ahead remains our community purpose-building, non-profit, hopefully soon to be charity. And we launched Work Inspired, a consultancy business which is dedicated to supporting the mental health and well-being of organisations, both in and out of the workplace. We curate programmes in person, online, or a hybrid of both, and everything we do is bespoke and tailored to our clients' individual needs. We work with the industry leaders in mental health and well-being. We want to build well-being programmes to have the duty of care for your people. We believe that addressing mental health, it doesn't need to be awkward or stressful. With your team and your people, it needs to be fun and inspiring and engaging. Our aim is to optimise your people's psychology like you'd optimise your technology, systematically, strategically, creatively, and adding our secret sauce, which we say fun. We're really proud to have worked with some absolutely incredible partners and businesses over the last few years. Just a few of them up there to let you have a little look. We work with music industry, corporates, creative industries, hospitality. We aren't sector specific. We're very blessed to have a really wide portfolio of clients we work with. So what's next for us at the moment? We were due to have a festival last week. That's not going to happen. So during the lockdown, we ran a series of online virtual festivals for Get Ahead, taking some of the brilliant wellbeing talent that we work with and curating daytime programmes for people to enjoy from home. And they were such a huge success. Next week, we launch a new online event series from a co-working space in Haggerston. And these are going to be happening monthly. They are free to join in if you want to sign up and stream it on the night. The festival is in the diary for June 21, COVID permitting. Really hoping we can bring that brilliant festival experience back to our community next year. And we relaunched the podcast with a brilliant new host this month as well, which is really exciting. Work Inspired, continue to work closely with our clients, helping them with their health and wellbeing needs, offering them that kind of all-important stress, satisfaction as they navigate their way out of this really, really difficult times, challenging and uncertain for everybody. I just want to leave you with the information on both companies. Get Ahead is our non-profit, Work Inspired is our consultancy business. Please have a little look, check us out on socials. And if I can be of any help, if you have any information, any questions, please just drop me an email at jenny@getahead.life. Thank you.
Jennifer, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for that. And did everyone else enjoy that?
It was absolutely great.
Very much so.
Yep.
Very good.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Great to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Over to you, Freddie. So, I mean, your Instagram, your LinkedIn at the moment is blowing up with amazing press. We just spoke off camera as well about how well that's going for you. How? Tell us your success right now.
Well, I think, as Jennifer mentioned before as well, as a business owner, no matter what you do, unless you are the founder of Zoom probably, you have been hit by that, And I think the last few months have been one of the most interesting and challenging, but also, teaching. When we went into lockdown, obviously all our customers, so venues, have shut down. We decided to stop charging them throughout the time as well to show them support. This has definitely put us as a still early stage startup under a lot of pressure and a lot of, we need to face a lot of issues. But I think our focus hasn't really changed in terms of what we're providing. For the last 2.5 years since our beta launch, we've been trying to show operators there are ways how to run the business even better, that we all have to focus on loyal customers. We have to get to know them. Every single venue relies on returning customers, but very little venues actually know how many customers they rely on, who they are. They don't necessarily have the tools to communicate with them and reward them. And, this hasn't changed. But I think what has, changed or what this time has brought is the time to reflect. we all know operators. I used to run venues myself. It's an extremely hectic environment to be living in, and sometimes you just don't have time to reflect and think about stuff because there's so many, urgent issues. And I think now we simply just saw a lot of people that we spoke to last year now having time to actually assess. And I think every venue lost their customers, and they need to somehow get them back. And they realize, I've lost all my customers. I need to tell them now I'm reopening, but actually, who am I going to tell this if I don't have the tools to do this, right? I don't actually know who my customers are, in fact, right? So what we managed to do is give that support, is tell them, look, let's rebuild together. We offered, free trials to a lot of venues. We offered extra support, upgrades. And I think what's important is that obviously our loyalty tool is fully contactless, so it's also safe, opposed to paper stamp cards. And with most venues going cashless, it's a natural sort of, progression that you wouldn't expect someone to, hand out paper stamp cards when they don't accept your notes. So I think all this together has, resulted in the growth. I mean, 100 new venues in a very short time. Definitely, I think speaks volumes more for those venues that they had the time to realize, let's digitize, let's take that leap. Even if you weren't tech savvy before, I think now it's not about being tech savvy, it's about improving the business, about trying to find new ways how to stay in touch with key customers. And to be honest, something that this time has taught us as a team is do not let yourself get distracted with all those issues. You know what your core is, adapt, pivot a bit, but your focus should still be there. And our focus since day one was how can we help operators? How can we support them? And this just gave us a chance to, show off, whether we're actually ready to help them. And yeah, I mean, I'm obviously, as we all are, worried about a lot of things that are happening. But, we as a team, we just try to keep focused and just give that, belief that there are partners out there that are willing to, fight the fight together with the operators. And I think they all need that. We all need to work together to overcome this. And yeah, we're just happy to contribute to some of the success stories, because there definitely are success stories post-COVID. One of my favorite actually has been Queens of Mayfair, a venue that literally opened post-lockdown in the middle of Mayfair with a coffee shop and cocktail bar, and absolutely nailing this. I mean, they get press around the world. They're busy every day. They did not expect pre-COVID to hit those numbers now.
Why though? What's their secret there?
I think, from day one, they really opened with the sort of, focus on that returning customer. We all as a venue, need to think now we have less customers around, less customers traveling in. How can we make them come back more often? And I think the very unique concept that they built, the service, the solutions, and, it's just not just embargo, many other tech solutions they implemented from day one, made it a place to be, and people just wanted to be back. And they managed to, again, make less customers come more often, which helps them, provide more revenue. And and I think, the founders have just done a great job of coming up with something that Mayfair needed for a long time, which is a specialty coffee shop with a cocktail bar, a bit more relaxed, without feeling that I need to spend, hundreds of pounds to just walk in. I mean, and there's many more, as we mentioned, Gentlemen Baristas being one of them, Notes Coffee, which obviously are, in the city in Canary Wharf, probably the toughest area these days. And they still managed to come back strong and not give up. And, I'm just literally happy to be part of this success and support them. So, yeah.
Guys, how important do you think loyalty is for a venue and your relationship with them when you go to a restaurant? Do you like to be remembered? I mean, what the guys at Embargo app do. Yeah, I mean, it's important, isn't it, right now? Yeah.
I can remember someone taught me years ago, it costs so much money to bring someone in once. It costs people to bring them in time and time again.
Yeah.
And more than ever, you want to know you're cared for. And this is what we do. We're here to care for you. We make memories. That's what we do. So loyalty, it's our respect towards you that we want to give. And so when we don't get it, we don't like it.
Yeah.
I think that customer experience is absolutely everything. And I mean, they can't expect to know everyone's names, but to recognise a face, give you a smile, that kind of knowing look, say welcome back, lovely to see you again. These things make a million differences, and they will make you come back. And you know, loyalty, it pays off absolutely. It's key.
And I think the stats, even pre-COVID shown this. I think there was a research done end of last year that 60% of venues in London shut down between the year 1 and year 3, but 90% of those that managed to get to year 5 stay open for 10 years or longer. And that really shows how much that returning customer base means, because at the end of the day, we all can get a venue busy for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years with enough PR marketing, but it can be misleading, without the right tools and without knowing actually how many customers we're relying on. We can have a feeling that we're fully booked, but what if this always comes week in, week out from new customers? This is not sustainable. And then we always, think about those venues that, open, they're so busy, and then they shut down. We all think, how come they just shut down? Because actually, it's usually the small group of customers that is a make it or break it for every venue. Having now worked with, almost 600 venues, we realized that, especially when looking at, cafes, grab and go, sort of lunch places, they usually rely on between 100 and 250 customers that drive between 75 and 95% of the business. And most operators just don't know it because they don't have access to the tools to know it. And when you then break it down and you think about it, it's 150 customers driving most of my business. If I lose throughout the year 2 customers a day, 2 customers a week, sorry, that means that you're pretty much down almost 70% of your business, which means you're shutting down without even realizing why. So it's so important, especially now post-lockdown, to nurture those relationships even more, regardless to what type of operation you are. Appreciate that customer even more, because at the end of the day, no matter if you are Starbucks, if you're a big bar, you all will now work as a little local coffee shop and bar, because people won't be traveling as much, right? And you just need to fight for that customer, make him come back and look after them, whatever we can do. And I think this is also why, Hospitality Titans came to life, is to actually, find ways how to support those businesses with, anything that can help them make customers come back. It can be, a lease that will allow them to have an outdoor space. It can be access to some new events. It can be access to new ideas, tech, and just show them that it's fine to try it, because we're all trying to work to help the industry at the end of the day. So
It's obvious you're doing really well, Freddie, but I know you always want to grow. So what are you doing at Embargo? Is there anything up your sleeve right now?
Yeah, I think, the big thing is obviously expansion to new cities. So before lockdown, we were just London. Now we're already in Liverpool, Manchester, Brighton. We're launching Birmingham in the next few days. And we also launched our first international venue in Saudi Arabia. And there is another 10 confirmed, which are going live in the next week or 2. And there will be more coming. Again, a lot of that comes from reverse inquiries. Seeing that the tool works here in London, obviously makes people want to try it elsewhere, and wherever we can help, we try to do this. So, I really do believe that we'll come out of it stronger as a business, but also as an industry.
We touched on restaurants earlier about the restrictions, 10 p.m. curfew. How important right now is the sort of grab and go? Consumers not wanting to be in a restaurant, but they still want that product. You will know better than anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the grab and go culture has been in London for ages, and now just become even more of a thing. And as we discussed earlier, there are still some people, and there will be some people who don't necessarily feel comfortable, going inside the venue. I know some people very well that only want to sit outside, but they still want to have that feeling of a routine, feeling of eating out, of drinking out. And I think, that grab and go culture is just going to be even bigger. I think every venue, no matter what they do, they have to be able to provide that. I think there's also a lot of pressure on now the delivery providers. I think, the commissions they're charging at the moment, 30-35%, is absolutely ridiculous. I do understand why they're doing it. It's just a situation where they have to do it to try to become profitable. But this opens up another discussion where how can this be solved so that operators can still do delivery, can still get that extra sort of cash flow going, but without necessarily paying out so much. there's a lot going on in that space for sure. Don't want to share much more, but I think the grab and go culture will grow. And it's also great to see that a lot of those, more high-end restaurants, which I know you deal with a lot with, and you guys deal a lot with, have introduced that delivery.
Yeah.
And again, one of those changes that have been made because people were forced to make them, but they could have been made anyway. And I think these are the positive outcomes of that crisis, And we just got to focus on that and just keep that positive note. And hopefully there'll be more situations like this that will come out with good changes.
I'd just like to tap onto that, Freddie, because you're right. One of the things that has come out, the versatility that I've seen in this market has been phenomenal, And one of the things that have come out that has been so exciting is the way that you've got high-end restaurants that have managed to create these delivery options, but they've been done so cleverly, because they're not even just high-end restaurant. You go there and you expect to get a good food with a good service. So how they've done it, I mean, especially there's one group that we deal a lot with is JKS Restaurants. JKS Restaurants are their own brands such as Gymkhana, Bao, Hoppers, and Bubble Dogs. And what they've done is they've managed to create a separate, if you like, business for the delivery of their phenomenal food, but they send it in packaging, and then it's got instructions of how you make it and how you create it, so you can actually recreate what you would be eating within that restaurant. Many people have come up with that.
Yeah, the do-it-yourself kits have been an absolute hit.
The guys at Hawksmoor did it really well, didn't they, as well?
They did well. Burger places, patty and bun.
Pizza Pilgrims.
And I think that just also builds like closer relationship with your customer, because they are more engaged with your brands. And I think again, throughout those few months where restaurants couldn't open, a lot of these brands have introduced those kits. It has built that feeling of appreciation, I think, because you realize how much work goes still into it, and if it doesn't taste exactly the same, you're like, okay, well done to you, for making it tastes absolutely amazing, actually using the same ingredients. And I think again, every crisis drives innovation. I've seen a lot of people sharing this screenshot of a survey going around LinkedIn where they were asking companies who drives digital innovation or innovation in your at your company. The answer A was your CEO, the answer B was your CTO, and the answer C was coronavirus, right? And I think a lot of people have ticked that last answer. And again, we just got to focus on those positive changes, and hopefully we can just somehow battle through and soldier through those tough months. And with a bit of luck, we'll be out of that with better concepts and better operations and more creative minds. And
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Freddie. Very super useful. So obviously, last but not least, Michelle, you and I have known each other quite a few years now, and I know you're up to something new and exciting, and you're going to give us a lovely presentation shortly. But tell us a little bit about QAB Hospitality.
Yeah, I decided to set up my own company in April. I thought January, and it started April. That was great. Though I think it's given me time to form what I really want it to be, and I want to help people to be better. I have made a lot of mistakes, Pete. You would have seen them. And I think, we have wisdom now where people don't need to make the mistakes anymore, and we can do better business. And whether it's through concept development, whether it's through opening a restaurant, whether it's through teaching leadership skills, whether it's understanding that there is positive psychology that needs to be taught in all different formats, I want to be part of that movement. And that's really what QAB Hospitality is. And today we will be looking at leadership in the future.
Fantastic. Well, I think we're all excited to see the presentation. So over to you.
Thank you. The future of leadership, building great people. We should not expect or want things to stay the same. Productivity growth over the last few decades has slowed down. COVID has just turned our lives upside down. We have a generation where we feel they lack loyalty to us and they want promotions so quickly. The management styles we are currently using don't seem to be having a positive effect. We need a new leadership model. So who are we? QAB Hospitality. My name is Michelle. I had a sliding doors moment in 1999. I thought I was going to be a musical star, and I got a job as a waitress in Asia de Cuba, a pre-opening team, and it just changed my life. I went into hospitality. I understood how much I loved people. I got to then work with Nobu restaurants and went to Mykonos and Samoritz. I moved to India with Taj Group. I went to open a fabulous 5-star resort in Mauritius. Came back to London in 2005, and for the last 15 years, I've spent either concept development or opening restaurants. From Beirut to Dubai, from Toronto to London, from Montenegro to Spain. And all of it, all along the way, people are fabulous. And this is what we wanted to do with QAB Hospitality, focus on what we can do with people. So what's the vision? To create a place of work where every team member feels valued, feels heard, is safe, and has the opportunity to fulfill their potential. Some people believe in helping the environment. Some people go to church. We have 35 hours plus a week to make people feel good and to make people feel cared for in the work environment. What is the mission? Challenge management style, change our vocabulary and direction of how we have historically been taught to manage. Question hierarchy. Bureaucracy doesn't have a great rep for making people feel great. We need to listen to our people, and we need to open their potential. Increase opportunity. Give our teams purpose. Give our teams autonomy. Give our teams knowledge, and we will watch them thrive. What should good leadership look like? I love this quote. Leadership is service, not position. By Tim Fargo. So how are we going to do it? 1, we're going to coach and mentor and not control and tell. Leaders should inspire. Leaders should listen. How many times have you been sat in a meeting with your manager and they're looking at your WhatsApp phone or they're taking a different call and you feel like nothing? We need to learn how to effectively listen, consciously listen, empathetically listen to our teams. And we need to guide them shoulder to shoulder. Involve. This is where we open up the potential. Get them involved in the P&L. Let them see how difficult it is. Get them involved in the problem solving. What part of innovation can they be part of? They need a voice and they need a choice. Growth mindset. They want rewards and recognition. Let's give it to them. We shouldn't be rewarding outcomes, profit, revenue targets, average spends. We should be rewarding great ideas. How can we do things better? Good work ethic. A really good team member. Flow, my favorite. Let people work in their strengths where they are happiest. Productivity, creativity, efficiency will all increase. So it is our job as leaders to find out what their strengths are and then give them the growth they so desire. Some values we can use in leadership moving forward. Trust. Currently, they don't trust us. They haven't got much evidence of us doing a great job in the last few years. We need to build trust and we need to build respect, and loyalty will follow. Courage. We have to have the courage to say, we haven't got it right, we need to do it differently. We have to have the courage to have uncomfortable but kind conversations. We need to collaborate. We might not be able to afford that centralized team. We need to open up their potential and find out what gifts they have working with us already. And we need purpose. This generation doesn't want to know just about economic growth. They want to know about purpose as well as profit. The way we lead impacts the way people live. It is a privilege to lead. It is a privilege to have a positive impact on our teams we have to look after and our society. And more than ever, we need this. Thank you for listening. My name's Michelle Moreno of QAB Hospitality.
done, Michelle.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
I think the girls have brought their A game today.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Although they've been great as well. Guys, it's been a fantastic show and it's been great to see you all. I mean, hospitality right now needs us as Titans more than ever. Freddie, keep up the good work. And Maurice, thank you so much for sponsoring today's live event. And Pete, always good to see you. And we'll see you next month.
Indeed.
And ladies, thank you very much. And
you for
I
having
believe you're not a board member yet, but I think we can put in a good word for you, can't we?
We
Oh,
know the right people.
thanks. That made my day. Thank you.
And that's the end of Hospitality Titans Live. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a great panel. Hope you've enjoyed it at home. If you have, please comment below. We've got some of the other Titans live right now, ready to answer your questions. Join us next month for another Hospitality Titans live show.